Good afternoon. Welcome to the Traffic and Transportation Commission meeting for August 19th, 2024. I'd like to go ahead and start with roll call. Go to Commissioner Varnell.
Here.
Commissioner Littlefield is not available. Go to Commissioner Long.
Here.
Commissioner Hale.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Schuline is not available. Go to Commissioner Wynn.
Here.
Go to Commissioner George.
Here.
And Commissioner Cornett is out of town. So we do have a quorum. Next item, approval of the Traffic and Transportation Commission meeting minutes for July 15, 2024. Can I have a motion on that, please?
Motion for approval.
From Commissioner Varnell, a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wynn. Do we have any discussion on the meeting minutes? Okay. Motion to approve the meeting minutes from Commissioner Varnell, seconded by Commissioner Wynn, and we're ready to vote. All in favor? Item has passed. We go to item 3, reports from Traffic Services Division and Counselor's Office. Staff?
All right, you've got our monthly report before you. There are no changes to the list of commission-approved signals for funding from the last time we'd reported. Under our alternative speed abatement program, you can see the list of locations which have been completed. As of the writing of this report, the city has expended $35,194, and with citizens matching funds, a total of $70,388 has been spent. Of the original $50,000 allocation from the City Council, at this point in time, we stand at a fund balance of $14,806. And in this month's report, we have our very first installation of speed cushions on a street, on a divided roadway. We will probably be discussing in the next meeting or two, probably looking at some revisions to the current operating policy. Reason being is because as we've been going through various installations, we're coming across situations which weren't envisioned when we originally did the program. Like, this is our first installation on a divided roadway. We've got other locations where we've run into situations where the policy requires that a block has to be at least 300 feet in length. And we've come across situations where there are some blocks that are divided in the middle by a minor side street. So you'll have one stretch of the block maybe 600 feet long, which is fine, but the other two stretches might be just under 300 feet each. So we'll have to work through situations like that. So we'll be presenting things that we've discovered and probably start discussing changes to the program to accommodate those things. And other than that, I believe we've got our standard report on administratively installed yield signs, and if you've got any questions about what we've presented in Section 3, I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
I know my neighborhood in Ward 1 is coming up for the ASAP. We've requested speed humps, and I don't know if that's coming up next month or not, but I won't be able to attend, so if it is going to be on next month, will you please push that to the next month for me?
Okay, well, speed cushions are all handled, they're an administrative function. As a matter of fact, it is one of the situations that I just described, having a long block on one side of the street subdivided by another, which results in like two shorter blocks. That particular situation crops up on the application that your neighborhood's working on. So we're in the process of trying to work through these things. But yeah, it'll be an administrative function.
Mr. Chai? So if we make modifications to the requirements on the ASAP program, that goes back through council, or will that not have to?
It would probably be best if it was reviewed by City Council.
Yeah. And I guess, will this body have an opportunity to review and maybe?
Oh, absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. Because what we'll have to do is we'll have to draft an item with proposed changes, get feedback from the commission, and then we'll get the City Council we'll present it to them for their consideration as well.
Okay. And as part of that, part of the Vision Zero discussion that we've had, they were looking at different alternatives that maybe are not captured in ASAP right now, would we have an opportunity to maybe include some other speed abatement situations or programs in there that aren't in there currently? Something like optical narrowing, things like that.
They can be looked at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good, thanks.
Well, just to be clear, changing in some of the basic text of the ASAP program would have to go to city council. But adding new speed abatement things, that doesn't have to go to city council, does it?
We would, if we do something along that line, we'll present everything. I mean, so we'll let the commission look at it, and then, you know, it'll go on.
Okay.
So when any changes to the function of the program get presented to the city council, they'll have the opportunity at the same time to look at, you know, other new devices being added for consideration.
Okay, so any changes to the ASAP
It
program?
would be best if this body saw them and could send a single recommendation on all of that for the city council's review.
Okay. Anybody else with that? With the staff? Yes, sir.
We're getting close to the end of our $50,000. When do we reapply for more? What's our next step when we run out of money?
Well, the best guidance we've received so far from our financial staff is that when we go below $10,000, then we need to make some sort of funding request, because the allocation that we're working on right now is not a standing budgeted figure. It was at this point in time, it's a single-time allocation of $50,000 sent through the city council. So after that, it will be. We'll have to see which way they want to go as far as, you know, either renewing that allocation, making it a standing budgetary figure, or maybe just providing additional funds as needed in the program.
Which was the concept. When you get down to a point, the staff would go ask for a certain amount to replenish. Because hopefully at some point it just kind of stalls out. Everybody got what they wanted and nobody needs any more. And so it sits there until something else comes up. But hopefully this is a good catch up. So, yeah. Okay, anything else for the staff? Okay. Counselor, do you have anything, sir?
No, sir, nothing to add.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, we go on now to item 4, the consent docket. There's one item on there from Traffic Services. Anybody here to speak against this item? Okay, staff, do you have any input on it?
No, it's just an item that needs, it really a housekeeping matter. There's an intersection at Western Heights Avenue and Southwest 39th Street that when it was first heard by the commission back in 1992, the Western Heights Avenue basically it formed a T intersection, except one leg and one branch of the T had that name, and the other leg of the intersection had not been constructed. Because our records show that the stop control currently is just at the intersection of Western Heights Avenue and Western Heights Avenue. It does not reflect the addition of Southwest 39th Street, which was built around 2004. So because we've got kind of an unusual traffic control setup right now, which really needs to be converted to all-way stop control, we went ahead and posted an advisory notice for the neighborhood. And this is more of an item for our records, because if we were to go and search for this now, you would not be able to find this particular location unless the cross street is referenced. So it's kind of an overdue housekeeping matter.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have a motion on the consent docket?
Move approval of the consent
Motion
docket.
to approve by Commissioner George. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Long. Any discussion on the consent docket? Okay, motion to approve by Commissioner George, seconded by Commissioner Long. Votes, please. All in favor, item has passed. Okay, we go on now to item 5A. The applicant is traffic signal at South Sunny Lane Road and Southeast 104th Street. Do we have somebody here that wants to speak on this item? Yes, ma'am. Come on up to the microphone. I'll need your name and address, and you'll have up to 5 minutes.
Thank you so much. My name is Ashley, and I'm a resident and frequent traveler through this area of 104th and South Sunny Lane Road. And since the widening of South Sunny Lane, I've observed an increase in the traffic of that area. And also, I witness on a daily basis, I believe the area to be a little dangerous based on the traffic flow, and I just have a lot of safety concerns about the area. It's in very close proximity to the Museum of Osteology, which attracts up to 65,000 visitors a year in that area. And with the recent expansion, I just believe that a lot more traffic has been coming through, and I just witness almost on a daily basis those traveling through not stop at the stop signs. I think I know that the traffic study was done, and I think the most compelling reason would be the number of collisions and then recent fatality. The collisions numbered 7 in the last few years since 2021. So I think that's probably the most compelling reason. Again, as someone who passes through the area multiple times on a daily basis, I'm concerned about the visitors to the museum. I'm concerned about just being local to the area as well, traveling through. The museum has a lot of visitors coming through school buses regularly from the Kansas City down to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Groups are leaving to go have lunch at other areas and then returning to the museum, so there's a lot of more traffic in the area, and I'm sure they'll just grow over time. So that was my main concern, is the safety to the area and just thinking what is in our control to be able to do. So I just think that it would be worth the traffic signal to put in for just on the basis of safety alone. So that's all I had to say. Thank you all for your time.
All right, thank you very much, ma'am. Anybody else want to speak on this item? Okay, staff?
All right, you got our comments before you. With this particular intersection, it is currently always stop controlled. We do have, we did run an MUTCD signal warrant analysis on it and found out that this particular location will satisfy warrant 2, which is a 4-hour volume warrant under reduced traffic conditions, which is allowed since Sunny Lane has got a posted speed limit higher than 40 miles an hour. And the intersection does meet the 3-part criteria to satisfy the crash experience warrant in warrant 7. So as this location will meet 2 of the 9 MUTCD warrants for signalization, staff is going to recommend the item will be at the discretion of the commission. Should the commission approve the request, the approval really needs to include roadway widening for dedicated left turn lanes on all approaches at Sunny Lane and Southeast 104th Street. Because approval of traffic signal without the inclusion of turn lanes won't afford drivers turning left the ability to do so with a protected left turn movement. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on the application.
Okay, all right, do we have a motion for 5A?
Motion, motion to approve with staff recommendation.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Hale. Do we have a second?
Second?
Second, we have a second by Commissioner George. Do we have any talk on item 5A?
No, that included the widening, right? That's the-
Okay, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is what you said.
Let's make
Yeah.
sure that the motion to include staff recommendation, right, okay? And that's the second also. Okay, any talk on it? Okay, we have a motion to approve item 5A to include staff recommendation from Commissioner Hall, second by Commissioner George. Time to vote, please. Item has passed with all in favor. We go on now to item 5B. Mr. Ha, oops. All right, let's try that. Okay, item 5B, traffic signal at South Independence Avenue, South Land Avenue, and Southwest 59th Street. Do we have somebody here to speak on this item? Yes, sir. Yes, please. You may have your name and address, and you'll have up to 5 minutes.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tom Ha, and I'm from St. Andrew Jungla Catholic Church in Oklahoma City. I have been and proudly served my second term as Secretary General of the Church Council Leadership. I am currently holding the position of Construction Committee Chairman and a representative for my church. I'm here on behalf of the residents of the neighborhood and the parishioner of our San Andre Jumla Catholic Church to submit our request to Oklahoma Traffic and Transportation Commission for the installation of a four-way traffic signal at the intersection of Southwest 59th Street and Independent Avenue and Southland Avenue in Oklahoma City, zip code 73159. You know, the last time I was here back in 2019 to make this request, and you know sure that I'm not giving it up. I'm here because of one of a million reasons that the safety of our citizens around the neighborhood are at risk, and one thing I don't want to say, but like loss could happen. We also know that there has been a significant increase in the traffic accident at the mentioned intersection, and with the accident report, request number OCPD 59110, 2024, obtained from Oklahoma City Police Department, date May 25, 2024. The report showed that there has been a total of 24 accidents at this intersection, with 11 out of 24 being accident with injury, and 13 out of 24 are non-injury accidents. The church and the surrounding neighborhood have been highly impacted by this. And you know, any time that I met with the people when we have a gathering at our church, people always come to me and ask, when do we see the traffic signal installed? We are worried every time we go by the church and send our kids to the neighborhood, and bad things can happen. So I'm here to say that we hope that you will look further into this request and consider funding potential for this intersection. Potentially, when you are evaluating your plan for streetscape with the South OKC Bus Route traffic route go in and out of common geobond proposal, that this area is highly on your priority list due to the number of injury-related accidents. In conclusion, we strongly believe that this request shall be granted for the safety of the citizen, and the fear of danger to human life or loss will bear no longer. Thank you so much, and may God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir. Do we have anybody else that wants to speak? Yes, sir. If I could have your name and address, you'll have up to 5 minutes, and then we'll need you to fill out a form when you're done, please.
Yes, sir. Hi, I'm Toon Nguyen. I'm at 3004 Southwest 100. I'm in Ward 5. I'm here on behalf representing the Vietnamese American community as the president-elect. I'm here to make that request because I was working with Mr. Tom Ha, and Father Viet had reached out to us to see what we can do. We pulled the traffic accidents at this intersection. Since 2020, there has been an increase of 24 accidents. Out of the 24, 11 of them were injury related. And so it's a really high dense area. I feel like every time you're traveling down 59th Street, everyone's zooming towards getting onto the interstate, and they're not stopping, and I feel like this is a really big need for our community down there. So I hope that all of our commissioners would consider that. Thank you.
All right, and sir, if you could fill out the form, please. Thank you. Anybody else wanting to speak on it? Sir, ma'am? Okay. All right, staff, do you have your input, please?
All right, you've got our comments before you. We did run an MUTCD warrant analysis at this particular location. I will call, before we get into the analysis, I will point out that on the first page of your staff report, you'll see that we've got some traffic entering data showing that since 2019, when this item was last heard by the commission, volumes have gone from just under 13,000 to about 13,500 on Southwest 59th Street. And the side street volumes from Land and Independence have gone from about 1,600 to about 2,600 vehicles per day. With respect to the collision history, in 2021 and in 2022, the number of collisions was relatively low. There were 4 in 2021, 2 in 2022, and then in 2023, there were 12 collisions that were recorded at this particular intersection, 9 of which are considered types that are correctable through use traffic control device like a traffic signal. Based on the MUTCD warrant analysis, the intersection currently, because of the number of lanes on 59th Street and the speed limit that's posted on 59th Street, it won't meet any of the warrants for consideration for use of a traffic control device like a traffic signal. Warrant 7, which is the crash experience warrant, could potentially have been met. However, when the manual was revised, in the past it had just subscribed to the number of collisions that had occurred like in the previous 12-month period. Now the manual has been rewritten so that you look at the number of crashes that have occurred in the previous 12 months, and then if that doesn't meet a warrant, then you can go back and look at potentially 3 years worth of crash data. And in addition to that, you also have to see if whether or not there have been any other things to mitigate the number of crashes that have occurred at an intersection. Well, in this particular case, had there not been a spike in crashes at this particular intersection last year, and had been an intersection, because in the previous 2 years, in 21 and 22, I mean, there were a total of 6 crashes over the course of those 2 years. Like I said, there was a spike in 23, and had we been aware and started doing some other safety mitigation actions at this, whether it's posting additional warning signs or maybe refreshing pavement markings or taking other actions like that, then potentially warrant 7, the crash experience warrant, would have been met. But under current traffic volumes and based on the actions that have been taken in the past, the intersection presently does not meet all any of the warrants for consideration of traffic signal at this time. So action on the item will be at the discretion of the commission. And if the commission votes in favor of putting in a traffic signal, then staff would recommend that it include widening Southwest 59th Street for turn lanes. And other than that, I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have on the application.
All right. Can I have a motion concerning item 5B?
Make a motion to deny the request.
We have a motion to deny item 5B from Commissioner Hale. Do we have a second? Okay, seeing as we do not have a second, I go back. Do we have another motion concerning item 5B?
Mr. Chairman, may I ask some questions first?
Sure.
And Stuart, so on item 5A, we looked at the warrants based off a 70% of traffic. I'm trying to remember exactly what we did on that, right?
Okay, yeah. On the previous items, in the case of Sunny Lane Road and Southeast 104th Street, that was reviewed. The warrants were reviewed under slightly different conditions because Sunny Lane Road had a 45-mile-an-hour limit on the north approach and a 55 on the south approach, whereas 104th Street was just posted at, I believe it was 40 miles an hour. In this particular case, Southwest 59th Street is posted at 40, and then the side streets are just 25.
And was the criteria at 40 miles per hour and above, you have the 70% variation?
It starts when you're above 40. It's not 40 and above.
Above 40.
One set of criteria applies all the way up to and including 40, and then the next set of criteria picks up.
So I guess my question is that looking at the 85th percentile, they're traveling around 43 miles per hour. So wouldn't that mean that ideally the speed limit, probably posting closer to 45 is more realistic? And not looking at the Bella Light idea on it, just 85th percentile right now is traveling at 43 miles per hour. So would we not be able to go and evaluate this same intersection based on that 70% of traffic, or however the warrant works, to see if some of the warrants hit instead?
That would be a rather subjective way to do it. If you look at the speed criteria, or our speed analysis on page 17 of this particular report, you'll see that at 40 miles an hour, we've got about 73% of drivers are adhering to the speed limit. They're traveling 40 or less.
Well, they're all heading to church. They have to.
Our study was conducted during a weekday, so it'd be hard to say what their destination was.
So seeing as 85% are below 45 miles an hour, it would be hard to justify using the 45 or above criteria, I would say.
Right.
But 43 is above 40,
Right.
which is where you're saying 41 and above,
Right. It seems like we're at that break point.
but 73% are 40 and below. So, I mean, if that would have been a smaller number in the 40s, say, 40% at 40 and below, then maybe your thought
Yeah.
could hold.
Right, and I understand where you're coming from, because there are a lot of applications we've seen in the past where, you'll see an 85th percentile speed for a certain area might be hitting higher, by 5 or more miles an hour above the posted limit, and you could be in a situation where you could potentially justify using like the 85th percentile speed for whatever it is you're considering for your analysis. Of course, if you look at how we've been looking at, or the common current practice for setting speed limits, now we're looking more towards the 50th percentile speed, so
True.
it's a discretionary thing, and at this point in time, the only consistent way that we have to present a report like this is we need to work with how the speed limit's posted.
It's fair.
Okay? You have something, sir?
The reason I made the recommendation is, unless things have really changed, it seemed like that the bulk of the problem was during church time, to where people going in trying to leave, and I just have a little bit of heartburn putting in a lighted intersection, which is on all the 24/7 for really when we're trying to address a problem that's really just a couple hours on Sunday. It was my understanding from the last time this was presented that was really the intent, was to try to help the churchgoers enter and leave the premises. Is that basically still correct? That's really what's
And sir, if you come up to the mic, please, to answer that.
So, to answer that question, I believe that the church going in the weekend, that also one concern, but bigger concern is that the regular day, the people, that the Amazon plan that developed two big building on the west side of Interstate 44, and we know that people go to work there, so I know, without doing a study like you guys did, and I know significantly people travel back east-west a lot. So not only the church, but I think the concern that we have for the whole neighborhood there, so.
right. And I can see the FAA traffic, a couple of
Yeah.
times during the day, but the cross traffic is.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I say that, because we have the Paris Festival yearly, and people around the neighborhood come and they also ask for it. They don't go to our church,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
Thank you for explanation.
Stuart, do we have an analysis of when these collisions, especially the 2024, or the 2023, when those actually occurred?
We've got detailed records, we've got all the police reports, I just don't have, that information's just not a part of this particular report.
All right, yes, sir.
I do have the accident report right here, right? That was pulled from the Oklahoma Police Department that sent to me. So in 2023, Mr. Chai was correct. There's like 13 accidents, but if you look in the calendar dates, the majority of them, some were on weekends and some were not, so.
If you could just give that to the staff, and then we can pass that around, all right, thank you, ma'am.
I remember when Mr. Hall was here 5 years ago, and we had a very long discussion about this, and looking at this map today, I have to kind of extend it north into my area. Independence, in a very similar situation at 50th and 63rd, both have lights, and which leads me to believe that this would probably be a pretty good area too, considering the highways the same distance, and knowing that we've had some spike in accidents.
we have any other questions while we're looking at this paperwork coming around?
Well, and for the commission's information, to Commissioner Wynn's point, had we done an analysis, a warrant analysis on this using a 45 as a design speed, this location probably would have passed warrants for considering traffic signal. It's just kind of it's on the cusp.
We'll just give it a little bit of time for this to get around.
My guess is also looking at all the traffic that comes from the north and the south, they probably avoid this intersection and go over to May or other ways to get out onto 59th to avoid this stop sign situation.
Hey, Stuart, a quick question. On page 4, there's some discussion of trials of alternatives to improve safety. Could you go into a little more discussion on what that would entail?
Typically, in a situation like that, if we'd seen a spike in collisions and had that information available, what we would have probably done is looked at either putting in warning signs, or typically what we've had to use in the past, we'd been using summary information that ODOT had prepared and made available through their website. And now we are, because there's a gap in ODOT's records, we're relying heavily on police reports from Oklahoma City PD. And so rather than using summary information, we have access to the full reports. And so when we go through there, it now gives us the ability to see what the cause was, what road conditions were like. We have a lot more granular information. We get to see the level of detail as far as if there are injuries and we also now get driver statements and witness statements as well, which help kind of fill in the rest of the picture. So we do take a pretty deep dive into these when we're doing the analysis. But at this point in time, because there aren't really any sight distance issues, there's not like any vegetation down the road. Now if you're on the south side and you're coming up on Land Avenue and you're looking off to the east, I believe that there are some utility poles that are present along the south side of 59th Street, which could somewhat impact your view of approaching traffic. But that's a common occurrence just about on every arterial, because most of the city's power distribution system is conveyed using overhead poles, and so you'll have that situation almost everywhere. But there are no view obstructions present at the intersection.
So one of the things that is being assumed here is that a problem is on 59th, people are not stopping at the stop sign. Is that one of the assumptions?
Well, right now, the stop control is for the drivers that are on Land and on Independence, because 59th Street's just got the right-of-way.
Oh, okay. So then we're assuming then that vehicles are pulling out onto 59th and causing an accident.
Well, the majority of the accidents look like are happening in the afternoon and evening. So it makes, is this what you're saying is the traffic from FAA? Because, if that's the case, it sounds like we need to have some police activity in that area to try to keep the people anxious to get home in line. Because, not meeting the warrants, but yet having that many accidents, it sounds like that, with some regulations, or some supervision over the speed might help.
Okay, so we had a motion and it wasn't second. Do we have another motion concerning item 5B?
Yeah, I have a motion for you. I move approval of the application with the addition of widening 59th for left turn lanes. I just think that many accidents in the last year, and that we don't even know this year, there's probably a high level there too. So I just think, 5 years ago when they tried, they would have been 5 years closer now, waiting for a stop sign or stop signal, because they do take years to, once they're approved, they can take up to 10 years before the city actually has the money to do it. So I think it's time to go ahead and approve it, and hopefully, because it's that, even though that's an old part of Oklahoma City, it's still expanding. There's more, there was an extra 1,000 cars per day going north and south, and 500 or 600 more east and west. And so, it's just going to continue to get busier and busier. They definitely need one there, I think. So that's my.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner George to approve item 5B to include staff recommendation. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wynn. Any discussion on this item?
To Commissioner George's point, the time frame does take a long time in order to get funding for the signals. I would like to see if there's some opportunities still to do some of those different alternative trials to see what there could be to do to help mitigate some of this situation. Obviously, having 12 collisions in the last year is quite alarming. And I agree with you with some increased enforcement, I think would be very beneficial for the area too.
Okay, so we have, any more comments? We have a motion from Commissioner George to approve item 5B with staff recommendation, seconded by Commissioner Wynn, and it's time to vote. Item has passed, 4 in favor, 2 against. No, it's I'm sorry, it's 5 for the quorum, but it's the majority for of those that are here. Okay? Just a point on that, could we maybe put on 59th a intersection warning sign to make sure people know there's an intersection there? Or is it very visible there is one?
Well, it's fairly visible that there is one, but like I said, we'll go back and take a look and see what we can do. Whether it's improved markings, I don't think there's much call for improved lighting at this particular location, but we'll take a look and see what there's something that can be done in the interim, because like as Commissioner Wynn had noted, there's a considerable amount of time that will pass between typically the time an item for any kind of traffic signal gets approved and the time that's actually funded and goes to construction.
Okay. All right, and then LT, you're gonna ask the local people there to sit around there and see what's going on?
Yes, sir.
And then maybe you can give something back to us next month.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
The applicant's got another comment.
Applicant have a comment? Yeah, come on up, please.
I just want to say a few words. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Hey, I'd like to just make one, here's your
Well,
comment.
that can be a matter of record. Do we need to have that as a matter of record because it
Okay,
came?
can you hand it to her, please? I just want to make one comment that there are, depending on how much you all want that light, some people will fundraise and pay for the light, and then you can have it done whenever you have the money. So if you wait for the city to pay for it, it could take 1 year, 10 years, because there's bond issues and it's got to be put in and there's got to be the money. But we've approved some other companies that wanted a light put in front of their business or a church or whatever, and they've actually raised money to put the light in. So I'm just saying that's an option, not that you have to do it or anything. Some people don't know that they can do that, so anyway.
And then a second point is, on your church days, when you have a lot of people going in and out, you can get with the OCPD and have some help, and you just pay the hourly rate for that. Is that right, LT?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that could help for those 2-3 hours, maybe rent a cop.
And usually, our church usually don't normally have our own security staff to help direct traffic
Right.
in and out of mass and such, but, you know, it's the uncontrolled hours. So,
Very good. All right.
thank you
very
so
much.
Commissioners.
Okay, we go on now to comments from citizens. Anybody have anything else? Nothing? Okay, we go on now to reports from traffic commissioners, et cetera. We'll go to Commissioner Varnell,
None for me, thanks.
Commissioner Long,
None for me.
Commissioner Hale,
Nothing, sir.
Commissioner Wynn.
Yeah, so I am still part of the advisory board for Vision Zero. Just want to make sure everyone's aware that there are some public outreach meetings that they're doing around the city. If you guys get an opportunity, check those out. Go kind of listen to what they're talking about, give a little input to it. I think it'd be helpful to make the Vision Zero plan as best we can. So appreciate that.
Could you give us a summary of the Vision Zero?
Well, the summary is, obviously, the city of Oklahoma City has, the nation has traffic-related fatalities much higher than what really should be acceptable. As a whole, just trying to find ways of mitigating that, especially low-cost, easy implemented ways of trying to mitigate that to reduce it down to a 0 fatalities for traffic fatalities. It's not easy, especially with a very mobile, especially vehicular mobile community like Oklahoma City. There are some communities like Hoboken, New Jersey, which didn't seem like they had a highway in it that have reached the goal of not having any fatalities. It'll be something much more interesting for the city of Oklahoma City to try to get that, especially with the 620 plus square miles that we're trying to address on that. So just trying to find some good common sense ways that will actually be practical for the average citizen to implement.
All right, very good. Go to Commissioner George. Okay. I don't have anything. Counselor, do you have anything else? Nope. LT, you got anything?
No, sir.
Okay. Staff, you got anything? Nothing else. Anybody else got anything? Okay, we're adjourned. Woo!